recently watched a tutorial of someone making a puff quilt. I've seen someone do this using sequin fabric for their squares. So I know it's not practical and it's unconventional, but I thought I would do a decorative experimental piece. So these are all the squares. I'm using the different patterns I'm going to be putting into this quilt. It's very pink, and I don't usually like pink, but I had this pink sequin fabric, and I think this would be perfect for my project. So first you're going to do is cut out a 5x5 square of the fabric you want to use the sequin fabric in the middle of. Now I'm cutting the backing of the piece of fabric you're going to put underneath the sequin fabric, so that way you don't see anything behind it. I'm just cutting it by the size of this ruler. That is 1.5 inches wide. So I'm going to do 1.5 inches by 5, so it matches the length of the big square. Now I'm cutting out a 1.5 inch, a little bit longer, or on the sides, probably like 2 inches on the side, that way, because I like it bigger, and that way I can cut it down if I need to. So I do about 2 inches strip width, and then 5 inches in length. That way it all matches from top to bottom. Now you're going to take that 5x5 square, find the center, and cut it in half. Right down the center there. Now you're going to take that 1.5 backing strip, place it underneath the sequin fabric, and then sandwich the piece that you just cut in half right over it. Now you can clip it so it doesn't move. You can put it all in place, and then you just start sewing from the top. And that's okay if it's kind of overhanging. You want it bigger than shorter, because that way it all matches in the end. That's okay. Just kind of line everything up from top to bottom and start sewing in a straight line down, just like you were a little miniature sewing machine yourself, and just sew straight down by hand. Don't use a sewing machine for this. This could break your needle. Sequin fabric is very hard to work with and not recommended sew with a sewing machine. So use hand stitching with this project. And again, this is just an experiment I'm doing. I don't know how it's going to turn out. So this is just the first time I've ever made a quilt, and I'm kind of curious to see how it turns out. So I'm excited. But this is what it looks like in the end, with both sides of the sequin fabric sewn to the sides of the 5x5 square. Your square is going to be bigger than 5x5 at this point, because we added like 2 inches of the center almost. Now you're going to take your 5x5 ruler, which I happen to have here, and then you're just going to trim it down, put it in the center of where the sequin fabric is, and cut the side so it all matches, and it is 5x5 all the way around the square. Now for the back of the square, you're going to take a plain piece of fabric. Any fabric will do that will mesh between the back of the 5x5 square, and it's going to be about 1/2 inch shorter. So you want to do 4.5 inches with the 5-inch square. So you're going to pin the corners together first. This is just how I do it. I've seen a lot of other people do it different ways. Some do it with the sewing machine. I just like doing it this way. This is just my OCD trying to be perfect with it. So I pinch the side of the pleat there. You're going to make little pleats on all 4 sides, but right now we're only doing 3 or 2 really, because this is you're going to sew the sides by hand eventually where the sequin is. So pin or clip all 4 sides evenly. Now you're going to pinch the opposite side of where you pleated the first place and kind of match it so where they're both facing downwards. That way it gives it more of a neater finish. And I'm going to pin that in place, and then I'm going to put it in the sewing machine and start sewing the square into a pocket. I use this little presser foot. It gives me 1/4 seam allowance. Has a little straight metal piece on the side if you can see it. So I do a little back stitch here. I know a lot of people don't, but I do, just because this is not your typical quilted fabric that most people use. So I'm going to back stitch, go all the way down. Make sure you take the needle or pin out before you go down the crease. Go all the way to the bottom, and then when you get to the bottom, you can just lift up your presser foot, turn it around, and then start sewing the other side. So I'm going to sew down the middle here. This is kind of important. You're going to sew all the way up to where the sequin ends. You're going to back stitch, and then you're going to lift up the presser foot. I take it all out and cut the string, and then I start sewing again right after the sequin fabric. Put it down, do a back stitch, and then keep going to the very edge. And then you go to the very edge and you lift up the presser foot again, spin it, and then continue down the next side all the way down. Make sure to unclip everything and unpin your pins before going over it. I kind of just want to fix it up here and make sure it's all aligned. and then you just sew all the way down. Now that you got your pockets partially sewed, you're going to take off your clips, kind of look at it. You're going to leave both of the sequin side parts open, and you kind of have a pocket here. You want a big side open at the top so you can stuff it with stuffing later. And then I kind of just pinch the side because that's where I'm going to pleat it. And then I'm going to put a pin in it later. So that way when I sew another piece on the bottom of this square, I will remember to sew that little sequin part by hand, not with my machine. And then I'll sew the rest with my machine. Down, stop, use my hand, and then sew the rest with the machine. And here I'm showing some of the other pockets I had sewn before. This is some of the pattern I am using with the project. The it's all pink. It's so cute. I'm so excited about this project, you guys. I cannot wait till it's done. I can't wait to show you guys how it's going to turn out.